Hey everybody, it's so good to have you back. So glad that you made it back to this channel. And if you like what you see, please go ahead and hit the like button. And we'd love to have you as a subscriber. I just want to talk to you a little bit today about the idea that sometimes you gotta really roll up your sleeves. Anybody tired today? It's Thursday. We have one more day till Friday. Some of you are counting down for sure. But in Wind Ensemble today, we were playing the piece to Rest by Kelly, and we got to the section at 23 and realized, boy, that was really out of tune. And these kids are trying. This is our top band in our program, but man, it's still really out of tune. And you hope that they can just hear all those things, but they can't because they aren't where you are. And that's one of the reasons that you are in the position you're in, because they are learning from you and growing from you. You're the educator, you're the resident expert in there. And remember that, okay? And so, but sometimes we get to these spots that just need our attention, and whether it is in a middle school band and they're just playing a lot of wrong notes, or whether it's in the wind ensemble and it's just out of tune even though it's the right notes, whatever it is, you just have to roll up your sleeves and do it. And I know, guys, it is so hard to want to do it. It is so much easier to just conduct and let them get to the end of that piece, and you've taken up several minutes of your class, but you really haven't gotten anything done at all. And so the idea of every rehearsal is, of course, to make headway, to continue to push forward. And whether you're making 4 measures of headway or 12 measures or 32 measures, which is hard, by the way, to make 32 measures of headway in one rehearsal. It's possible with your older groups maybe, but with your younger groups, it's going to be harder to do that. And so it's really important that you split up your rehearsal into sections where you're going to really grind it out and roll up your sleeves, and you got to just do it. So today in Rest, for example, we were playing measure 23, beat 1 only, and we were tuning that chord, and then beat 2, and then beat 3, and that took a long time maybe, and then beat 4. And then the next measure, beat 1, and beat 2, and beat 3 took a really long time in that measure, and we had to go back and do it again. And is it completely where I want it? No, it's not. We're going to have to go back and do it again. But what it's done is it's taken Rest measure 23 to maybe measure 32 or so, and it's brought it from a real basic level to a little stronger. And so it's kind of like, you got to kind of think of it like a sculpture, right? So you have this block of clay and you start to sculpt things out. And now we have the basic form, okay? So what we did today was, we had the basic form because they could play the notes. But now we're trying to refine those notes. So now we were able to move it to here. And what we've got to understand, guys, is that it's not always going to just go from 0 to 60, okay? Sometimes it's got to go on Monday from 0 to 10, and then on Tuesday it's going to backtrack to 5, and then we're going to go from 5 to 15, and then maybe the next day, boy, we go back to 10, but maybe we can go all the way up to 30, and it's like that. You just have to keep slogging it out, okay? And I know it's so hard. So that's why especially those of you that are really intuitive and you pick up on your students' affect and you hate it when they're bored, and you beat yourself up about it because they're bored, right? And you want to fix it right away. But you have to do that. You have to do the rolling up your sleeves work in order for the end product to be great. Because remember, at the end of the day, you're going to want to have that concert be a time when those kids are so proud, right? And so in order to do that every single day, not just the last 2 weeks before the concert, but every single day, you got to get a little bit farther and then point that out to the kids. But you can also take some time to then, after they've really worked hard, celebrate, right? So maybe they worked really hard on Rest, and now we're going to go and play the whole second suite in E flat, the third movement. We're just going to play, okay? And you're just going to let them play. And that's okay to do that too, to give them a little bit of a like appreciation playing, sort of the candy at the end, right? Because of all their hard work. And make sure that they really know this is why you get to do this, because you did all that hard work, okay? And the other thing that's really important when you're rehearsing is to make sure that you tell them along the way, like, I know this is really hard work, guys. This is no fun for anybody, but guess what? We are making headway, and that's going to be fun in the end. And so just reminding them and reminding yourself, like, you are doing this, but this is like eating your vegetables. And when you finish with these, you're going to be a stronger person because of it. And we're going to have a stronger band because of it. Always try to get other people involved, right? So, for example, I might have my trombone player playing and my second and first trombone player playing, and we're going to find out with everybody listening who is higher, who is lower, and so that everybody's working on their ear together, right? With the beginning band today, I'm really excited because we're starting to learn about duets, and we're going to split them in groups today. So that ought to be interesting. My class is really long. I'm very blessed to have a long class, but also because of its length, the kids really have a hard time sitting that long. So what I'm going to do is have our regular class time, and then about maybe the last half hour or so, I'm going to be splitting them into small groups. Now, they do small groups in groups of 4, where they work on rhythms one line at a time. In the back of the Essential Elements book, there are rhythm exercises on page 42. And on the back, there are rhythms. What I'm having them do is clapping and counting all together. And then once everybody in the group has it right, then they get that initial. And so you have kids helping one another, but you also have everybody growing because everybody has to do it right, not just the top kids. And so they end up helping each other. The other cool thing that I think is really important when you put kids in small groups, especially at the middle school level, is put them in like abilities. Now, that might be counterintuitive because you might say, well, why wouldn't we put our top kids with our younger kids? But this is why, because you want your top kids going even farther, right? You want those kids way out in front. And so take those kids and your top 4 kids or just 4 kids that are doing really well and put those together. Sorry, you can hear that bell. Put those 4 kids together that have been all working really hard, because then nobody's frustrated when they're going through their sections, and they get a little bit of props, right? They're the farthest ahead in the group. Give them points. You can give them points for anybody that gets a line that's 2 points for their team, and keep track on the board. And then when you want to do something different, you can split them in groups. Today we're going to go ahead, because we're learning on duets, learning about duets. What we're going to do is have those kids actually play their duets and then perform tomorrow too. So I'm going to give them some time to work on rhythms today, but then I'm also going to give them some additional time later in the rehearsal to actually practice through their duet. And what's nice about this too is that what happens is if you put a medium level student with some lower students, or even 4 lower students together, okay? If you even have a couple students that are just a little bit better, what you'll find is that some students will rise to the top and start to lead. And that's ideally what you want with all your middle kids and your lower kids. You want to have some motivation to start to work harder, all right? By doing these performances tomorrow in class, what happens is these kids know that they're going to be playing in front of one another. So those kids that have only been working kind of so-so, the ones that we all like want to tear our hair out on because we know they could be super great and yet they're not doing what they need to do, those kids are going to start to rise up because of their reputations. You see, middle school, they care exceedingly about their reputations. And so if you have them perform in front of each other, then now they're going to work harder, right? Which is going to mean that you can be in that supportive role, right? Which is so much more fun than being the heavy all the time. So I hope that these ideas are helpful to you. I hope that you're able to take your minute or 2 today and just sit and listen to music and remember why you do this, and that's to help kids to become more successful and to bring music into their lives, and probably tons of other reasons that are great too. So I hope that you have a great day, and tomorrow's Friday, so lots to celebrate there too. Take care. Bye.